hello and welcome everyone to this episode of Who is a Leader series. Before we get into everything, let me just introduce myself and our organization. I'm Vibha Chokhani, an executive and team coach. And this series is coming from you from METAMORPHOSIS, which is a vertical of SAMAKSH-SoulWaters. METAMORPHOSIS focuses on leadership development solutions for organizations, leaders, and their teams. And as coaches, we bring a holistic lens to leadership and a common belief that a leader's individual journey towards wholeness is critical for addressing today's complex and changing circumstances. This interview series called Who is a Leader is where we're attempting to uncover what makes someone a leader, regardless of their title. We are endeavoring to understand what defines a leader and how aligned are leaders with some core traits. We want to clarify how leaders help people move forward and what is redefining leadership today. To continue the conversation, I'm delighted to welcome Gauri Das on this episode of our series. Gauri is someone I've gotten to know over the last few months, and she is the Vice President and Head of HR at India Factoring and Finance Solutions Private Limited. It's a member of a Europe-based group of the FinBank Group. She has been recognized as HR 100 under 40, a top HR mind in India, and has been awarded the Women in Corporate Luminary Growth Award. Gauri is passionate about talent management and development. She has 14 years of experience in all gamuts of the HR management aspect, has worked in diverse industries like NBFC, financial services, FMCG, education, and so on. Gauri holds a double master's degree with specialization in HR and psychology, and she has a bachelor's degree in computer engineering. She's a certified NLP professional and holds an OD certification from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. In all other aspects, Gauri is passionate about women empowerment and is leading a lean-in circle called Leaders Lifting Leaders, of which I have had the privilege to be a part of. She's also a core committee member for LinkedIn group called LinkedIn Local Navi Mumbai. I think we're ready to jump into the conversation, Gauri. So I'm just going to bring you in. So delighted to have you here. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Vibha. I'm happy to be here. And like you mentioned, leaders lifting leaders. So this series is also in very much alignment with what I am doing already along with you. And it's going to be a wonderful conversation. Looking forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's jump in then, Gauri. So I would love to start off with just asking, how would you define a leader? We hear this term being thrown around so much. I would love to hear what is your definition of a leader?
This is an interesting question, Vibha, because you rightly mentioned we use this term every here and then, but we don't realize what exactly it means. For someone, it can be somebody who is in politics. For somebody else, it would be a senior authority or someone who is having that position. But for me, leadership is very different. For me, leader is someone who can have a vision and can take people along with him. For example, Mahatma Gandhi, he had an unsurmountable task with him. He gave a vision to people that if you do this, India can become independent. So that was the kind of vision that he created for people, and it was positive. Like we always hear, Hitler also was a leader. So much happened because Hitler said something and people were crazy about what he is going to tell them. But he is not a leader for me. For me, somebody who is having a positive intent, has created a vision for their followers and others, is someone who is a leader.
Thank you so much for that, Gauri. I think the delineating line that you are drawing between who is a leader we want to get inspired by versus not, as positive intent and a positive vision, is actually really, really powerful, because sometimes I have heard people refer to leaders are influencers. If you have influence, you're a leader. But again, influence could also be positive, towards a positive cause, something that is to the benefit of the people versus not. So I really appreciate that. That's the essence of defining a leader, as you are bringing into the conversation. So continuing down the same line, then Gauri, what would you say are some non-negotiable traits for a leader today?
So for me, there are few. I will count few of those here. Number one is vision and purpose. You should be someone who is having a vision for future, and you are able to pass it on to your followers, your team. If we see an example of Mahatma Gandhi, he was able to pass it on. The vision was to get independence from India, and he was able to do it. So purpose, vision is very important. You need to be a strategist. If you are someone who is only good at execution, you are not going to become a good leader. Second, courage. Courage is extremely important. We say that uh, we need to be vulnerable in order to connect with people, and we need to show that courage to lead by example. I'll cite an example here. It's related to Johnson and Johnson. And since you have lived in US for quite some time, you will know how Tylenol is seen in US the way we have Crocin here or some other medicines. It once happened that one bottle of Tylenol was tampered with, just one bottle. And what the CEO did, he ordered to get back all the bottles from every store, every shelf. It was a negative impact in the short term, but when the bottle returned, so did the customer. So this was an example of showing that extraordinary courage in face of challenges. He could have said that it's just a bottle and I don't care, it might happen. I mean, there are instances where such errors happen. But what he did instead was calling back everything. So in short term, it was a negative impact, but it was an example of exemplary courage, and it did help the company. Similarly, leading by example is something else which I would like to comment. If you are setting up a rule, you need to follow it not only for you, for your team, but also for yourself. We have seen organizations where right from CEO to junior most level employee would be staying in similar hotels. It would not happen that you have 5,000 limit for junior levels and for CEO you have 20,000. That is leading by example. Another example, if I have to cite, is I just read it in a startup story. And the CEO there laid down certain criteria who can be assigned a cabin and who will be given a cubicle. It so happened that the promoter of the company did not fit into those criteria. And he finally ended up taking a cubicle rather than a cabin. Now, this is something exemplary, again, leading by example. If I have said something, I have set up the rule, I am going to follow it. And finally, for everything and anything in life, listening. Listening is so important that, and especially as a leader, you need to listen from all people in your organization. It should not happen that you are only listening to your directs, because they will come with set things. And especially in listening, it is very important that you are giving them the kind of respect, the kind of environment that they can open up. If you are just telling them I'm having a ear, but you are not following what they are saying, or you are just rejecting their ideas, people would not come forward and they will not speak to you. Another thing in listening is there are introverts, there are extroverts, and there are people who would not come forward and share their ideas when they are called for. But even those people would be good at writing those ideas. So instead of brainstorming, if we do right storming, that would definitely help. So anyone at any level of the organization can come forward and share those ideas. This is another important thing, listening. So these are some of the non-negotiables for me, which are a must in a leader.
Gauri, thank you for listing out these very clear traits: vision, courage, leading by example, and listening. I see these not only traits for leaders, but I just see them as traits for skillful human presence. I think in today's day and age, any individual displaying these traits will go very far in life. So I appreciate that there's a common sensibility here with what you're saying. Maybe just to move the conversation along, then I would love to hear what is one myth about leadership that you want to bust today?
Great. For this, I have a question for you. Is that okay if I ask you?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Great. So you enter a room, whether it's a corporate or it's a social arena, and you see two people there. One is just going around mingling with people and talking and sharing his ideas and listening, and the other one is quiet, only listening. Who would you get impressed with?
I think I would have the chance to know the person that is talking, and so maybe more connection with that person.
Okay, yeah. And then generally this is what happens. So we always say that we get only 7 seconds to get to create that first impression, and first impression in many instances remains. So it generally happens that if you see an extrovert and you see an introvert, you will always get attracted to extroverts because we are a world which cannot stop talking. So this generally becomes then a quality or a prerequisite to become a leader. And I don't agree with this because I have seen amazing introvert leaders. It's just that they will not talk more, but they are able to create that connect much better than extroverts. So this definition of introvert or extrovert also is kind of misleading the way we think of it. Extrovert is someone who takes energy from outside, and introvert is someone who is taking energy from within. And that's where they spend more time within themselves, and extroverts like to spend more time with outsiders. And history is so full of examples where introverts have made amazing leaders and have achieved the impossible. You look at Martin Luther King Jr. So Dr. Martin, he died at the age of 39, and he created such a vision for people. It always happens that if you have followers, you will be having haters also. He was assassinated. It exemplifies that the kind of work he was doing for Black lives in US. Another example from business field would be Bill Gates. In a book, it is said that Bill Gates, no matter how much he hones his social skills, would never become Bill Clinton because there is a limit up to which you can stretch your competency. And he's not required to do that. He built an empire despite being an introvert. So it's important to understand that introversion and shyness are two different things. And every introvert is shy is totally a myth. So the myth that I would like to bust today is introverts make an amazing leader as much as an extrovert can. So Vibha, from this platform, I would like to send out a message to our viewers that if you are an introvert, please do not think that you can't make it. You can make an amazing leader as an introvert.
That's powerful, Gauri. Thank you. I think that's a really key message. As an extrovert, I have worked with leaders who are naturally introverted, may come across as shy, but the level of trust that they're able to build in their own special way, in their own unique way, has been amazing in the teams and organizations that I have had the fortune to be a part of. So, this myth is an important one that you're tackling today, and I appreciate that. I would love to then sort of get into a little bit about you. Can you tell us what motivates you every day? What drives you to do what you do? And you do a lot. So I'm very curious to hear what are some things that you can share with us about things that motivate you.
Okay, for this I will take you to my childhood because that's where the building blocks are formed and that's how our personalities are always evolving. So I'll just take few moments to take you to my childhood. I was born in UP and then we moved to a place called Pithampur, which is around 30 kilometers from Indore. Indore is a well-known place, and this was an industrial area. My father was a factory manager. He used to stay in that factory. It was a happy life. I mean, I have all the happy memories with all the greeneries, well, temple, everything being inside the campus. However, the challenge was always all good things come at a cost, right? So the cost for me was the nearest school was around 1.5 hours distance every day, and it involved around 3 kilometers of walking each day. And another thing that it was Hindi medium, we did not have a school there which could offer education in English medium. So that's where I had both sides of it. It was a happy time when I was there, and when I had to go to school, it was a challenge. And that became another challenge when I went to college for my engineering. And this was Indore, a big city. I had never been to a big city. This also had students from US and other parts of world because we had such NRI seats with us. And English was the language of the campus, and I faced a lot of challenges there. I had to overcome all these difficulties in order to reach where I am today. So the most important lesson that my mother gave me was having a self-esteem, self-respect for myself, and having that autonomy. I am not someone who will micromanage anyone. At the same time, I don't like to be micromanaged. I need autonomy. I think I am capable of doing things, and if something is assigned, I will be doing it well. And then mastery, like I told you, the challenges that I have faced, and today I speak in various forums. I work in MNCs. This is my third MNC that I'm working, and I support my global HR team as well. So now I realize that I have reached this level, and it is possible for anyone and everyone to change their destiny. I kind of want to create this hope in people that you can change anything and everything in your life if you are determined to do that. So that is what keeps me motivates me every day to get up and do something.
Gauri, that is an incredible amount of insight you've given us into how you've come to be who you are. And thank you so much for sharing that. I'm getting some chills here. It's quite inspiring to hear someone who comes from your background and the opportunities and the challenges that you had in your way, leading a team at several teams, global teams, and you're really busting a lot of myths today for our viewers. I think for someone who has completed their primary education in Hindi to then go on to college in English and then to work with global teams is no small feat. So kudos to you for what you've been able to move through, and thank you
Thank
so
you.
much again for sharing that. Yes. So I think building on what you just shared, what is a leadership lesson that you are still learning?
There are many, but I will mention just one here. It's about having focus. So far the definition of focus is to have your concentration fixated on one particular thing. But right now, the one which I am referring to, my definition of this focus is threefold. One is about myself, about others, and about the world at large. I am still trying to understand myself better, looking inside. I need to understand, because if I am not able to understand myself, then I would be having a rudderless situation. I would not know where am I going. Second, we discussed about listening. If I don't have self-awareness, I will not be able to listen to other people's emotions. I would not be able to understand what is happening with them in their lives. And second, understanding others. Understanding others for me is, if I don't do that, I would be blindsided. And it has two facets for me. One is understanding them empathetically, and then understanding their perspective. So both cognitive and behavioral aspects come into play here. And as a leader, or even as a mother, or as a human being, I am surrounded with people. As you know, we have this leaders lifting leaders, and we have the philosophy that all of us impact other people's lives, and that's where all of us are leaders. So in order to impact other people's life, or to understand them, awareness about others is critical. So both our perspective, and in terms of emotional and behavioral understanding, that is what I am trying to increase. And third, connecting with the world. So for HR, business acumen has become a critical competence today. And I'm not only trying to understand what is happening inside the organization, but also what's happening with competition. What are stakeholders looking at? So all those sort of things outside the organization as well. So three facets focus. One is learning myself, learning about others, and learning about business at in common.
That is really clear, and I appreciate the three levels that you just laid out, especially because oftentimes even in my work I encounter there's the space of the I, the self, the space of the we, which is the relationships, the interpersonal space, and then there's the space of the it being the system, the business, whatever, however you're slicing the system. It could be one team, it could be the entire organization, it could be the entire industry, it could be the entire economy. So I appreciate that you've also, chosen to focus on all three levels. I want to sort of underline this discussion with the current times. So I have one question for you about how does all of this, learning about self, learning about others, learning about the business, become important, or how does it shine in the light of the circumstances, especially in these times with COVID, the level of complexity and uncertainty that we all face? What would you say is the connection between the two?
Sure, I will reply to that, but let me appreciate the way you have defined the three levels. I, we, and it. I really love it. So why do I need to understand self, others, and organization and outsiders at large? It's important in order to achieve and first create my purpose. For example, if I don't have understanding about what's going on, and one of my values is to respect others and help them, I would not be knowing what's required outside. I might be coming up with something which I think is important, but unless I have that connect with people, I understand their challenges, I would not be able to do that. Like, I will appreciate that you have come up with this series at this point of time, because leadership is single most important thing that differentiated employers in the COVID era. There were leaders who were micromanaging. There were other leaders who were, whenever they were calling or connecting with someone, the first question was, is everything fine with you? Is your family doing well? When they were having town halls, they were trying to understand more about what's going on in people's life rather than only focusing on the business numbers. And that has created an employer brand. So this particular aspect, this particular quality of understanding self and others not only helps us in challenging moments, but also in everyday life. If we are, for example, if I'm not able to listen to people and now it's time to come back to office. Now, there may be men who are taking care of their children because their wives may be in different professions where they need to attend office every day. They may be in critical field or maybe in a hospital and they need to be in office every day. Now, the moment we say you need to come back to office, especially for those roles where it is impossible to operate, like if you are managing documents or you have to dispatch few things, then you need to be in office, right? And if I'm not able to listen to what they are actually trying to say, The moment I say office is open, I will be asking them to come back, and all men would be required. But if I'm able to listen to them without them even telling in detail that I have this challenge, I would be knowing that, okay, this person has this challenge that his wife is not home and he needs to take care of his child. That is the kind of empathy that will be built. And similarly, listening to them, being aware, people might say something, but they might mean something else. This is something which we have been learning from ages. And in order to understand what exactly they are meaning, I need to understand their body language, which is much more than what is the simple words are saying, right? We say it's 7% and 93%. So that 93%, I need to understand myself. If I come across as someone who is not high on emotional intelligence, people will be scared coming to me and they will not talk to me. So I need to understand my own awareness and awareness of the environment and theirs.
Yeah, I think you laid out really clearly what has defined these times for us, and leadership is much the need of the hour. And I'm also just really grateful for the timing of this conversation with you. There's several things that you've said today that I'm going to go back and reflect on. So before we come to a close, I would love to I'd love to hear what message would you have for someone who is stepping into the world of leadership. What is one thing you would like to tell them?
So my mantra in life is passion with compassion. You need to decide what you are passionate about. If you are a leader, you need to really see which aspects are your strengths and which are your weaknesses. So you can work more on your strength and you can try to take your weaknesses to a certain level. Keep learning. That should be the mantra. One should be a student for life in today's era. Every few years now, skills are changing. Today, the most important skill is resilience. We are not talking about any other skill today the way we are talking about resilience. And future of work is also going to be the same. So if you are a leader, you need to one, keep learning, two, you need to be resilient, and three, emotional intelligence. So this is my message. And when I say passion, I combine the learning, the purpose, and then compassion is extremely important because empathy is something, like I said, it differentiated employer from employer, good employer, bad employer, and created a brand for themselves. And similarly, it happened for leaders. Those who were micromanaging and trying to check how many hours my guy is sitting in front of system, they were not appreciated. And people now know that they are not as trustworthy as the other side. So have the mantra as passion with compassion. Go for your passion, but have full empathy and compassion.
That is an amazing message. Thank you. I think there's several things wrapped up into passion and passion with compassion. The human aspect of empathy, the human ability of resilience, as you said, and the passion, which is the visionary piece that's driving. It's almost like that's the engine that pulls everyone else along. I really think there's a lot in that message. So thank you, Gauri. And let me also take this opportunity to just appreciate you for the paths you've taken, the decisions you've made, the challenges you've faced and emerged from, so that we get to learn with you and from you in this moment. And I'm sure we'll be back for more conversation. But thank you for taking the time. It's been such a delight and absolutely an honor to share this conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Vibha. I really enjoyed and loved the quality of questions that you raised. I'm sure, and with your insights as well, I'm sure our viewers will have a good time listening to this and they will be having a great message to work on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you tuning into this, we'll be back with more videos in this series. Thank you and stay with us. Be well and take care.